Thanks everybody for joining us. My name is Mike Morgan. I'm the board chair of APA-DC. APA's mission is to advocate, educate, and elevate the professional photographic community. Advocacy for our industry is a very big part of what APA does. There's only a few trade organizations out there that are fighting for the rights of photographers. So if you're not a member, I'd strongly encourage you to join and help support the industry that supports you. You can contact us at membership@apadc.com, and we'd be happy to provide a discount code to give you $20 off any membership level. Now I'm very, very happy to be able to introduce our speaker today. Hannele Lahti is a member of the APA-DC board. Is also a very good friend of mine. I can tell you about Hannele. Her work focuses on the natural environment and the wonderful world of canines. She loves capturing the chaos and companionship dogs bring to our lives, as well as the meditative qualities that nature provides. She's partnered with a wide variety of clients, from private pet owners to large institutions and businesses, and has exhibited her work internationally. She grew up in the wilds of Maine, is an RIT photo grad, and is currently expanding her horizons through a yoga teacher training. All right, please join me in welcoming Hannele Lahti.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm going to show a lot of personal work. So I've pretty much built my career doing personal work. I spent the first part of my career doing a lot of work that did not fulfill me and paid my bills, but I truly hated. So I did a lot of personal work to build my portfolio so that I could pivot in a way that was exciting for me. I love photography, and when I was just sort of chasing, the next assignment or what everyone else was doing, I just kept landing on my face and just not being happy with what I was doing. So I decided to just do my own thing. So I'm going to share a lot of projects today. Let me share my screen first so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Are we seeing everything? Good? Okay. All right. So one of my very first personal projects was came out of my need for some peace and some meditation and relaxation after kind of burning out of photography pretty early, like in my career. So I went home to Maine and sat on the dock at my parents' house and just breathed. I just looked at the water and I breathed. So my first project is something called Ebb and Flow, and they're all water abstracts. And I think in order to sort of give you an idea of how I put together a project, I'm going to read my artist statement for this project, and then we'll kind of go through the images. So, Ebb and Flow. Growing up on a lake, water has always been a part of the visual fabric of my life. I learned to respect the natural world and honor its natural beauty by sitting at water's edge with my grandfather. Hours of my childhood were absorbed by just looking. As an adult, I came back to the water when the stress of work and life became too much. Needing a break from the world, I returned to my childhood lake and found peace through the meditative act of looking at and photographing water. I've learned that in water, as in life, the chaos can be calmed by taking each moment with intention and appreciating the natural ebb and flow. So this sort of kicked off my lifelong study of water and photographing water and just enjoying the meditative qualities of water. And it's something that I do all the time. It's not a project that has an end. I see it as something I'll just keep doing when I need to. Many of the images I shot either from a dock or from my kayak. I have a kayak down here and I just sort of go in the afternoon and just, tootle around and take some pictures. And luckily I haven't lost any cameras to, to tipping kayaks or anything like that. And so from there, I started looking over the sides of very large ships and photographing the wakes and having fun playing with the abstract qualities of that. Two of the images are behind me, and I look at them every day and they just bring me peace and joy. So these were taken on a ferry boat to Newfoundland. I was doing an artist residency in Newfoundland, probably 2012. It was a long time ago, but anytime I'm on a boat, you'll find me like hanging over the side, taking pictures of the water. And these are images that I show in exhibitions. I sell prints. So they've been a kind of a fun play situation. And then I started staying on the beach and doing long exposures and looking for sort of the abstract in that. I love sitting at the ocean. It's my favorite thing in the world. So these images are very long exposures. I purposely left little tidbits of sand or rocks or something just so that you could ground yourself. So I just go different times of day and set up shop. And so I find these images very meditative, but I also find shooting them very, very soothing. It's a lot of fun. And if you're familiar with Mark Rothko's paintings, you can probably see that he is a huge influence of mine. I love going to the room at the National Gallery filled with his paintings. I'll just sit there for like an hour. I love it. And so those images sort of brought me to another opportunity where I was a photographer in residence on a expedition cruise ship. And so we started in Norway and spent 4 weeks crossing the Atlantic Ocean. And we ended the journey in the Amazon rainforest, it was an amazing opportunity. And I was just in awe, like this is in the middle of the Atlantic and it was just so calm and so beautiful. So I did a series of images where they're all pretty much the same composition. It's very flat, very, very quiet. Like there's not a lot of dynamic angles going on in these images, but I could look at them for hours and just feel peace. So when we were reaching the Amazon River, what was really interesting was that the power of that river pushes sediments out about 100 miles into the ocean. So these lighter areas are actually the sediments of the Amazon. And as we got closer to the river, it changed. It was so amazing. So that's all the sediment from the river. And the river, if you're not aware, is brown. So that's the brown mixing with the salt water. While I was on ship, I was also responsible for photographing sort of our daily life. And when we would go into port, I would have approximately 6 to 8 hours to take a lot of pictures of the places that we visited, which was incredibly challenging. I would like get off the ship and just run and try to find something that was interesting in a place that I didn't know how to get around. I had my phone and no clue of really what to do. We went to, this is Bergen, Norway is where we started out from. And then the food on the right is from a cafe in the Cape Verde Islands. And this is also Cape Verde Islands. So I'd try to find the marketplace. I would try to find the town square, things like that. This is also Cape Verde. Cape Verde. But it was really challenging to find interesting images in such a short amount of time. It's not how I would normally approach travel photography. I would want to embed and spend a lot of time. So this assignment was was good. It was very stressful, but it was also really fun. And it got me out of any kind of rut I might have had in making images here because it was all brand new. It was really exciting. This is Lisbon. Oh, sorry. This is on the right is Morocco, and on the left is Spain. This is Lisbon, Portugal. This was in France. I was like, oh, well, thank you, sir, for wearing white and sitting on in that window, painting the window. What a wonderful thing. Got really lucky on that one. So I really like to look at how light interacts with buildings and how nature interacts in cities where there isn't a lot of nature. So pretty much anytime I travel, I try to make time to make images for myself. And I'm lucky that I married someone who's an artist and understands that. So I'll just go off on my own anytime we go on a vacation for a few hours and just make images. And I usually, I'll license them or I'll make prints. I have greeting cards that I sell using images that I take on my travels. So I try to make use of most of the work that I shoot. So yeah. So 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to start a project with the Smithsonian Institution. They were looking for a photographer to photograph their tree collection on the mall. So all the museums on the National Mall, all the gardens around them are operated by Smithsonian Gardens. And they wanted to digitize their collection. So the trees are all part of a museum collection that is accredited. So I started photographing. There are 1,800 trees in this collection, and we photographed them in spring, summer, fall, winter. And then we also photographed leaves and flowers and fruits. So this has been a very massive project. It takes I spend about one to 2 days a week on this project year round. And since the beginning, it has expanded. So this is still the tree collection. And they set me up with a closet space in the basement of the Natural History Museum to photograph tree specimens, which is very weird. It felt like I was going into Jurassic Park. The elevator in there is like, and then you go down into the depths. It was very interesting. And I'd go there with my little cart of tree leaves and sticks and stuff and make images. It's pretty fabulous. I really love this job. Feel very fortunate to have it, and they are very happy to have me, which is really nice. It's a collaboration on a massive scale. So there's a team of 5 of us. Someone catalogs the images, someone does all the research and updating the plant specimen information. There's a supervisor, there's someone who tags all the trees. It's a massive project. And because it's for education and scientific research, there are times where I have to have a ruler in the image. So I try to have fun with it and do it from like bud to flower or things like that. Just any way to find it interesting. So from the trees, this is a behind the scene of, now I'm photographing the orchid collection, which is 4,000 plants. And takes a lot more prep. This is Justin, he's the orchid horticulturist at the greenhouse. And this is a 6-foot orchid that we had to photograph in place in the greenhouse. So that's a challenge because greenhouses are notoriously very bright. To photograph something that you're using studio lights, it is challenging, but also very rewarding because I spend most of the winter doing this project in a nice tropical greenhouse with beautiful flowers. So these are some of the images I shot a couple weeks ago, actually. So we're photographing the flower and the full plant in the orchid collection. With the trees, we were doing seasonal and everything about the plant. In orchid collection, we are keeping it simple with just the flower because that's mostly what people are interested in, and then a full shot of the plant. And then they keep finding grant money for me, which is amazing. Now we're photographing all the perennials in the gardens. Those are going to be deemed the display collection. So any kind of shrub or perennial, we're now documenting. So and that has like hundreds of thousands of plants, but only so many of a certain type. So it's not quite as crazy as it might seem, but it is a very big and very complicated project because it's a matter of timing everything when it's blooming and looking great, while also trying to manage, like, have we already shot that? So everything is done on a GIS map. So I'm learning GIS, which is kind of exciting and interesting. But this image on the right is pretty much my field kit. I have because I know I'm talking to photographers, I want to show how I do this. I use a tripod, I use a ProPhoto light and softbox, a color card, 100mm macro lens, camera. I always have my water bottle, but I'm working on the mall, so I have to keep things tight and small because I don't want anything to walk off, and I don't have an assistant. I'm doing it all on my own, which I like. I prefer to work sort of on my own for this project because it's just easier. We don't want to trample the garden space. So trying to stay light and maneuverable is sort of the key here. But these are some of the images we've been shooting. We just started this last year, so we have a long way to go. But it's really interesting, and it's taking my love of nature and applying it to something I never thought. Everyone always told me I would never make any money doing nature photography. Well, I don't know, I made it work. Like, it's about 50% of my income. So I'm pretty proud of this work, and I find it really fulfilling. And in addition to all the collection photography we do, they have also commissioned me to take pictures of their garden spaces. So I'm pretty much free to just roam the spaces and take images that I find interesting. The image on the right is the Kogod, which is where we're having our APA meeting this weekend. That's part of the collection. So when you're there, check out the gardens, the beds there. Those are all part of the Smithsonian Gardens collection. And all the trees are black olive trees. So now you know. And then this on the left is an Edgeworthia plant, which I think is the coolest looking plant. It's blooming right now. So if you're downtown and head by the Ripley Garden, you'll see it. It's beautiful. So yeah, I just take images that I want to make and they seem happy, which is really great. So this image, they asked if I could photograph these grasses that really like pick up the light I think this is in the fall. And this is in the sculpture garden, which is being completely torn out and redone in the next few years, but it will be beautiful when it's done. And this is one of the greenhouses. So that's all my nature work. Well, not all of it, but a good selection. Now I want to talk about dogs. So I never thought I would be a dog photographer. That was never on my life plan. But I adopted this dog 2007 maybe. And this is Annie, and she's my first dog. And I adored her. And taking pictures with her of her was so much fun. I just did it on my own. I was just having fun with it. And it was just so enjoyable. I just trying to like photograph how she sees the world was sort of my plan. And I started showing these images to, at the time I was selling my stock photography through the National Geographic Image Collection. So we would have these meetings and I'd show the photo editors, oh yeah, and I'm taking these pictures of my dog. And they're like, these are great. You should submit them. So I started submitting some images of Annie into the collection, and lo and behold, she ends up in a book and magazine articles and all these things. I was like, huh, oh, well, maybe I should do dog photography. Like, there's a market for this. And I seem to really enjoy it and having fun with it, and people are responding to it. So, oh, maybe I should do something with this. Um, and then we got another dog, and I did a whole little project on Annie and Murray together, all in black and white. I was just having really fun with it. But I wanted to share this image because it inspired my first real personal project with the dogs. So I want to actually read this artist statement. So this is my project on the life cycle of a dog toy, which I've shared with the APA group like 3 years ago, before the pandemic. We had a panel on personal projects and they asked me to share this, but that was a smaller group and it was in person. So now I'm going to share it again because it's fun. I mean, people seem to like it. So the artist statement goes, the life cycle of a dog toy. Perhaps they start with the weakest point, the eyes or the squeaker. In the end, it's always the same. The toy is reduced to a shredded, matted, disemboweled memory. This project began out of frustration. Every cute toy I brought home for my dogs ended in a mangled mess destined for the landfill. So I decided to photograph the toys in their pristine shape, then again months later observing this savage demolition with the scrutiny of an anthropologist. I found each dog seemed to have its own technique. Murray, my senior Boston Terrier, always removed the eyes first. Annie, my other terrier, slobbered her toys to death, while Oscar the Newfoundland buried his, and Cole the Boxer Lab Mix opted for complete obliteration. The length of time between the before and after shots also depended on the dog. My dogs took their time, from a few weeks to a year, to really leave their marks on their toys. Others were pretty quick about it. One large hound mix named Tico dismantled his precious stuffed octopus in minutes. I found that within each well-loved destroyed toy was a portrait of the dog's unique style and individuality, and a reminder of the wolf within. So, I'm kind of having some fun with this project. This is the buried toy. This is one that got completely obliterated. I like this one a lot. It was so stinky to photograph the after shot of this toy. Oh, so I did start to outsource the toys. I was only having my dogs do it, but they were too slow. So I outsourced the toys originally to some of my Nat Geo editors, which was really great. They were very excited about it. And then in 2020, when everyone was stuck at home, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll bring back the toy project and I could raise money for like a pet food pantry or something. So I put together, I bought, I think, 20 dog toys, and then just posted on my Instagram, like, hey, I'm doing this. It's $100. I made it really cheap. You'll get a toy, you'll get an evidence bag, which is up here. I made it kind of fun, and a return mail stamp. So I sent the toys out. all the dogs did their thing. I got progress reports, which was amazing. And then I got the toys back and I made the diptychs and sent everyone a print. It was the most fun. It brought so much joy to everyone. We raised like $1,200 for the Humane Rescue Alliance's pet food pantry. So it was all like good stuff. Um, and I got almost, well, I didn't get all of the toys back. I actually have one on my desk right now that needs to be photographed. I got it back like a month ago. And yeah, I didn't get them all back, but I got most of them back. And it was just a really fun, joyful project to do while everyone was stuck at home. And I did get a fair amount of press for this project. I was in the Washington Post magazine, and National Geographic did a story on their proof photography blog about the project. So that was really fun. And to this day, I still get emails from random people and they attach pictures of their dog toys to the email and just say, oh, my dog does this. Can he be part of the project? So who knows? I may continue it. It's a lot of work to do this project because there's like, I have to photograph the toy, then I have to send it out, and then I have to get it back, and then I have to photograph it, and then all the retouching. It's a lot of work, but it's been a really fun, quirky project and a different way of photographing dogs than just taking a picture of a dog. That sort of was my challenge to myself, because dogs are notoriously cute. So it's not hard to take a cute picture of a cute dog. I just wanted to take it a step further, and I see these as portraits of the dog that destroyed the toy. Okay, so my next project, because I kind of wrapped up the dog toy project and I was trying to think of something else that would be unique to DC in case I ever moved away and I didn't want to like look back and be like, oh, why didn't I do that project when I lived there? Is I found out that the offices in the House and Senate are very dog friendly. A lot of staffers bring their dogs to work with them. So I started photographing the office dogs of Capitol Hill. I started this in 2017 after the election and everything was really charged. It almost seems quaint now that that was charged, but I really wanted to make sure I was very bipartisan with photographing dogs from Republican offices and Democratic offices. And I've succeeded in that. I've found that everyone has been game to be involved and excited to be involved. And I am sort of floored by the access that I've had. And it has just been super fun. I've learned a lot because I never really photographed politics. That was never anything I was interested in. I'm not a photojournalist, but doing this project, I've learned a lot about how things kind of work up there. So if can anyone guess whose dog the left one is? Do you recognize the Ben and Jerry's cow in the back? That's from Bernie Sanders' office. So I try to use things from the office. I don't really know what I'm walking into when I get there. And I'm at their discretion as far as like where they want me to shoot. The dog on the right, this one is in the Veterans Affairs Committee room, which is gorgeous. And that senator was highly involved in that committee. So they wanted me to photograph there. So I'm just kind of going with the flow out there and just taking what I can find. I can't believe this chair stripes match that bow tie. Like how lucky can I be? Yeah, it's just really fun. This is actually in the Judiciary Committee hearing room. Because this dog worked as a staffer for the Judiciary Committee. The staffers, the owner of the dog. But the dog came to work quite often. And a lot of the stories I would hear is that they really help to break the ice. It's very stressful to work on Capitol Hill. And so having the dogs there really helps. Like we can all get along. We can work together. These dogs are doing a lot of work up there. So this one is, I started this project up again last month. And I'm starting to do them once a month, do a shoot day once a month. I did, I think, 3 shoots in one day back in February. This is one of them. We're out on we were on the speaker's ceremonial balcony, and we had to, to get there, you had to open a window and then open a door. Like, it was the weirdest, go through all these little tunnels to get there. It was really fascinating. And then I just had the dog run up and down the balcony. I didn't know what else to do, and it was windy and rainy that day, but we had a good time. So that project I'm starting up again. I'm going to try to do it once a month. I have probably 15 offices already interested in participating. I just need to schedule them. So maybe I'll do a book someday. I don't know. I don't try to think about the outcome of a personal project while I'm doing it. I'm trying to just focus on making the images and doing the best job I can. So the other work that I do for dogs is more of a lifestyle look. I work with commercial clients, editorial clients, and private citizens wanting images of their pets. It is like the best job in the world. People are hiring me for me, and they're finding me online. I market a little bit, but I'm just having the most fun I've ever had doing this work. So these are some of the images I shoot. That's my first dog, Annie, when she was a senior, and my husband playing ball. So I'm still trying to keep the theme of photographing the dog as they see the world. That's sort of how I'm approaching it. I don't really force dogs into poses or a hard sit. I find that can stress them out. So we really just play. We get into a space and just have a good time. This little guy, oh, so cute. He came with, I think, 10 different sweaters. It was amazing. So dogs are just these amazing creatures. If you're not a dog lover, maybe you don't get it, but they just bring so much joy to people's lives that getting to photograph that is really special. And I love photographing the older dogs. This guy's 13 years old, but still had some pep in his step. And this is him in his favorite place in the backyard. You don't see a lot of people in my work, but you see people in my dog work because I think it's really important to show the connection we all have with animals. This is one of my favorite. That dog was in 7th heaven, love in those scratches. So I try to create, I do light some of my dog work, but I try to just create space in the shoot for just natural emotions. And oh, this is actually one of my favorites too. This dog, this is actually one of my cousin's dogs who we were photographing, and he ran into the bushes into a muddy brook and just rolled around, got all messy. And I got this image. I was like, oh, that was worth it. It's so cute. And so now I'm trying to pull it all together and bring my love of nature and being in nature with my love of dogs and sort of combine them all into one image. So I've been doing a lot of hiking and camping type shoots. Last year, I did a strictly portfolio shoot, like I want to work with REI kind of thing. Um, so I over the course of a weekend, I did a shoot. It was sort of a weekend girls camping trip with their dogs. I The models were all dogs I knew, and they all knew each other because dogs, have different energies. So I knew that those dogs would work well together. And I knew that my models all had all the gear that we would need and more. So, and we just had a great time. So we camped down on the Potomac so that we could also do water sports. Um, this dog, Pepper, on the right, I mean, she had a hat. It is like the cutest thing ever. So I am just now sort of going through these images and editing them, and we'll put together like a promo to send out to um, for some of my target clients. But we just had a ball. We went hiking, we kayaked, we did stand-up paddleboarding. Um, and I think I got some images that I can use to start marketing for some commercial clients. Here's a little behind the scenes, me shooting from kayaks in two different kayaks on water and kayaks on land. I'm over here in the corner. Thank you, Mike Morgan, for these behind the scene pictures. Mike helped me out this weekend and was my lighting tech and shot some behind the scenes, which was really fun. We had a good time. And it was a very chill shoot. Like dogs, the thing with dogs is that they're good for about 10 minutes at a time. So, we would shoot and then we'd hang out and then we'd shoot and then we'd make some food. And, so it was a really fun experience. And I'm pretty excited about the work that I was able to get. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about so that we can get to questions is I organize monthly dog hikes. So this is something I've been doing for about 4 years. And I started doing it because I read a book about, I can't even remember what book it was, but it was a book about, oh, shoot. Anyway, one of the concepts in the book was that there's a loneliness epidemic in this country. And I kind of thought about it and I was like, well, what could I do to help maybe foster a little community around the things that I love? So I started organizing these monthly dog hikes. We've been all over the DC metro area. And I have this wonderful group of people who come every month. I have new people every month. And we're having just such a fabulous time doing it. And while it's not photography, in its strongest sense, I have been able to make images that I can use in my portfolio from doing these hikes. And that's been really kind of fun. So, and I've gotten work from people on the hikes. So it's been this really sort of maybe not directly photo marketing networking, but it has resulted in a fair amount of work and a community of people that I just love. And yeah, it's just been great. I met the people that were in my portfolio shoot through the hike. So I've been able to utilize the hike as not necessarily a hard sale business tool, but is just sort of another extension of what I do and who I am and what I can bring to the world. So I think that's it. So I just wanted to end with this image because I feel like this image incorporates everything I freaking love. It's coast of Maine, it's a dog, it's yoga, it's kind of everything. And I shot this like 15 years ago and didn't even have a dog business or have a clue what I was going to be doing. But for some reason, this image has held up and yeah, it still works. So do we have questions? I'm tired of talking.
That was awesome, Hannele. Thank you very much. We do have some questions.
Okay.
Do have a question about working with a government institution and working with the Smithsonian. So, what kind of an agreement is worked out with something like that? Who actually owns your images, or is it ultimately a work for hire, or can you relicense or use those images for certain things?
So yeah, with the Smithsonian, it's a contract where they pretty much own the images. I can use them for um, portfolio, speaking, whatever. But essentially, pretty much anything you do for them ends up as, I mean, it's research as part of their education and research arm. So those images eventually will be not public domain, but off essentially, available for people to use for their research and that sort of thing. And yeah, I get that that can kind of suck, but um, I love the work um, and they pay me well for it. And I think, you kind of have to give and take. I also really like the fact that these images are going to live for a very long time. Whereas, like, if I was doing a shoot for, say, a company or whatever, they use it for a year and then that's it. But these images are going into like the National Archive, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm totally
Absolutely.
fine with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, it's a part of working with taxpayer money. The work that you
Mhm.
produce belongs to the people. So,
Yeah.
we do have a follow-up question that just went into the chat from Hanad. How do you license your images? And do you have a wild story about an image that you licensed, like an outrageous fee, a weird way the image was used, etc.?
So, I mean, back when I was part of the Nat Geo image collection, they have since stopped licensing work. I think they stopped maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But it was a little strange because I would never actually know where the images ended up. I would get a check at the end of the month that said this image sold. And sometimes I wouldn't even know what images sold. It kind of went all over the place. But the funniest one was I had an image of my three nieces sitting on a dock, and it ended up being a book cover on some, I can't even remember the name of the book. It might have been called the Lake House book, which is interesting for another reason. But um, yeah, I saw it at a bookstore and I was like, that looks like my image. And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, that is my, those are my nieces on that book. That's kind of interesting. And the other part of that that's interesting is that my grandfather's house, we always call the lake house. So it was just this very weird thing. I didn't make a lot of money on it, I don't think. And then I do license my work directly now. So it kind of gives and takes. I usually only offer that when I have a client that can't necessarily afford like a full production photo shoot. I say, well, I mean, I have this huge collection of images. Usually it's dogs, dog related. I have this huge collection of images. I can make a light box for you, and this is what it would cost for, like a web use or whatever. So that's kind of how I do it now. It's not something I do a lot of anymore. Um, Unfortunately, it was kind of nice to have like a little bump every month to see, what was selling and that sort of thing. But I haven't had any outrageous fees, unfortunately. That would be amazing, but that's never really happened.
Okay. So here's a two-part question from two separate questions that were in the chat. Um, Irene was asking, are you able to sell a fine art print of any of the Smithsonian plants, of any of the images that you've taken? And then additionally, with your fine artwork in general, where can people purchase your work?
Oh, I had, well, first question, no, technically not right now. But once those images become part of like the National Archive, technically I could, but I'm not going to. I I have decided to just like my Smithsonian work is part of a whole separate Lightroom catalog that it's just for that. That's all it is. I don't really, I can keep whatever images I don't give them, and I could make prints and do stuff like that. And I may someday, but it's not, I don't see the, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. Let's just say, like, this is something, this project is grant based, and every year they have to get grant money to pay for me, and every year they have so far. So I'm just gonna kind of roll with that. I do sell fine art prints, and I can put the link in the chat. I have a online print shop that I actually put together during the pandemic because I saw the writing on the wall in March of 2020 that, oh, maybe I'm gonna have to shift gears and sell some prints because, everything else is pretty quiet right now. So that's one of the things I do wanna mention is that while I may be kind of niche as far as what subject matter I photograph, I can apply what I do to so many different industries. And what I do is, here's my print shop. And what I do is I just ratchet up one, and then maybe I kind of just try to see what things are looking like for myself, and then what industry wise. Like I don't really advertise for editorial work anymore. I don't see the point. Like I just don't, unless they want to publish one of my personal projects, then great. But I'm not outwardly looking for editorial magazine work anymore. It comes in once in a while, but it just doesn't seem to pay enough. Unless it's like a really fun project, which I mean, I've been doing some projects for Bethesda magazine, and I kind of enjoy them. They're all pet related. So I've been doing some work like that, but I try to just apply the work that I do to different industries instead of allow that industry to tell me what I should be doing. Does that make sense?
For sure, for sure. There is a quick follow-up on the printing. I know you've got a really nice printer in your office. Are you doing your own printing, or
Yes.
or were you having that done? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I do my own printing.
Yeah.
And most of my prints are like limited edition prints. So I only print so many of each image. And once those are all sold out, they're done,
Mhm.
which allows me to ask a higher price, essentially.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about how the Smithsonian project came about and how you got that great position there?
Yeah, sure. Um, so in order to do any work for the federal government, you have to be part of their SAM system. It's called the System for Awards Management. It is a pain in the butt to create an account, but anyone in DC should probably do that just so that you're already in the system. So I was in the system. A friend of mine told me to do it, so I did it. And the job posting, it wasn't like a regular job posting. They were looking for, this contractor to do this job. And a friend of mine who works at the Smithsonian forwarded it to me, and then recommended it recommended me to them. So I kind of had an idea of what they were looking for. And I didn't have exactly that in my portfolio. So I went out and photographed all of my plants on black and went in with prints that were exactly like what you saw. Because I thought that would be something that would be really good for them to do. I wasn't exactly sure if that's what they wanted to do, but it sounded that way. So I had an interview with them, brought those prints. They were like going crazy, and they offered it to me like right after I left the interview. And it's been it's been an interesting journey. Like I've been able to raise my rate significantly since I started. It's been 4 years, and every year I'm able to raise my rate. I'm paid hourly, which isn't how I normally charge for things, but I charge not just for shooting, I charge for meetings and editing and everything. So it's just been a really good, it's like a perfect fit. I mean, I don't know that there are many jobs out there like this. I wish there were more, because it's so fulfilling, and it's just been a really good. And throughout the pandemic, they were amazing. They had me give some photo talks so that I could have billable hours. I did some social media posts for them. And the nice part was that most of the work is outside. So I was still able to work once things kind of got past that initial phase. So I didn't really lose a whole lot of ground during the pandemic because of how I had my business sort of set up. I got really lucky. um, so.
Yeah. That's a really great tip about how you basically put together a portfolio just to go in and meet with them and take the kind of photos that they needed. So it's thinking about that, how often are you sending out, promos and marketing materials to your dream clients? Like obviously did the camping shoot, and you've done a number of other personal projects. What what kind of a schedule do you keep on that stuff, and or what kind of a schedule do you hope to keep on those things?
I was so much better about it a few years ago. I send out, okay, so because I have different industries I'm targeting, I, s- I send out like a monthly little email to my list of pet parents, for, sort of the pet photography stuff. And then they also get, my hikes and that sort of thing. I Since the pandemic, I haven't sent out a print promo because I'm not exactly sure where to send it. So that's something I'm going to start kind of working on again. Honestly, like, and this sounds so bad, but like, I'm too busy right now. Like, I can't really take on a whole lot of other work. I don't have room for it. I don't even have room to do a lot of the personal work I want to be doing. Um, and I know that that is not how I should be. I should be always sending out stuff. But yeah, I should do it more. Thanks for the reminder. But yeah, no, I am gonna send out a camping one for summer. That's my plan. My goal is to have a nice printed piece and probably a email series that I do on, camping with your dog kind of thing.
Very cool. Well, so how has your practice with making images shifted since beginning your yoga training journey?
Oh. Well, I've only been in the yoga training for um, 2 months, so not a huge amount yet, but it's definitely shifting how I think about just life in general. One of the things that they're teaching, actually, I have a quote, hold on, that I thought was really helpful. Okay, so one of the books we've had to read is about, um, well, let me just read the quote. I'll just read the quote. Is looking outward for fulfillment will always disappoint us and keep contentment one step out of reach. And that really resonated with me, especially with social media and just the way of the world. I feel like this journey into yoga is teaching me to just trust myself, and which I've done, but I feel like I'm getting the language for it now instead of just, oh, well, that didn't feel right, so I'm not going to do that again, or that sort of thing. This is very much like a life change, I think, and I'm sure it will impact my work. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty content with the work that I do. I love what I get to do every day. I feel like I've built a business that is just an extension of myself. Um, and I feel pretty lucky about that. It has not been easy. I've been flat on my face many times. I have failed and failed and failed. But I just get back up and keep going on. I don't know. You know this, Mike. You Mike's been with me on this journey for quite some time. So um yeah, I just feel like I'm very disciplined. I do the work. I I know that everything changes. It's always going to change. There's always going to be outside forces at work. But if I know what I want to do and can voice that and can work towards that, then it's not going to affect me that much. And I'm just going to keep moving forward and shift when I need to shift. If I didn't think that way, I would never be doing dog photography because it wasn't what when I was 20 I wanted to do. So I think staying open to shifting um, what you do and listening to yourself is kind of key. Especially as artists, we're artists, right? Like, what else is there?
For sure, for sure. That's a great way to sum up your presentation, I think. I guess we do want to ask two more things. So when is the next dog hike?
The next dog hike is, I just had one on Sunday. The next one is April 23rd, I think, a month from now. I was doing an Earth Day weekend, so 23rd. And that hike will actually include a 30-minute yoga sesh at the end. So it should be fun.
That's
Oh,
right.
Katie
That's
just put it in the chat.
yeah,
Yeah.
Travels with Ollie. I've
Yes, it's
been on a
travels with
few of the
Ollie because
hikes. I definitely recommend. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, it's travels with Ollie because Ollie's my dog, and it actually started as a blog where I was just blogging about hiking with dogs and traveling with dogs, and then I was like, well, why shouldn't I? Why should I just do this by myself? Why don't I just bring people along with me? So that's kind of how it worked.
Okay. And then I guess just to wrap up, are there any projects you have in the works or things that you're things you looking to begin or things you're looking to get into?
Yeah, I mean, I always have something going, but I think future wise, like I want to start planning to do like workshops and retreats and mentorship. I think that's sort of the next chapter of what I would like to do with my business. That's sort of the reason I signed up for yoga training because I wanted to bring like a mindfulness component to a workshop. I think it's really valuable. So that's sort of, I mean, that's a little ways off, but something that I am taking at least one step towards right now.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, I know we've gone a little over our 30 minutes as we normally do with a wonderful speaker. So, Hannele, I want to thank you so much for sharing your work and sharing your story with us. And thanks to everybody who joined us. If you're in DC, please join us on Saturday at the Kogard at the Kogod, oh, whatever it's called, in National Portrait Gallery. And join us at our next online event if you're not in DC. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right.
And thank you everyone for coming.
All right. Thanks. Bye, everyone.